So now I kind of fiddled around with this a little bit, tried to find the right spacing here. You'll kind of notice a few changes. I had to make cookies a little bit smaller because that's such a wide, long word. It wasn't quite fitting with everything there, but I still have some things covered up in that layered look. Just had to make cookies a little bit smaller. Of course, there's always opportunities to find alignment with type. It always makes it a little better. You don't have to do it every single time, just little things that you're looking out for. Okay, so overall I'm very happy with that. We could start to add a little color to the headline. Once again, it's going to depend on if we're going to have a white, light background or a dark, rich background. So we're going to explore both kinds, and it's going to depend, the color is going to change depending on what background we use. But let's say at first we just stick with a plain white background to show. I'd like to change all of this to a chocolate color. And what I like to do is take the eyedropper tool and sample something from a photo nearby. I like to do that. Instead of just trying to find a chocolate color myself, I'm just going to take it right from the chocolate chip here. And I want it to be dark. I want dark chocolate. There we go. There's a nice dark chocolate that's really going to pop out against the white. You want to have a lot of high contrast stuff when you have a package design. That means you have something light next to something very dark. That is contrast. So another thing is mint. Mint. So mint is mint. It's green. Doesn't really need to be chocolate colored. So this is a lot of different of the same color, a lot of different typography in the same color. So let's break that up a little bit, add to that contrast by bringing out like a mint color. Just like that. So notice how that really broke up the headline and it feels more readable. It feels more digestible. It's got two different colors now. It looks great. So just kind of a little hint there. We can always double click this color and maybe, lighten it just a tad. Add a little bit of that mint flavor to it. So now we have that together. And we can go ahead and since this logo, let's go ahead and have a plain logo without the texture for now, just to keep it easy. Let's make this logo match with the chocolate. Kind of bring that in as a thematic themed color. And so now we might have an opportunity to bring this a little higher and make it a little bigger. So now we have a couple things we need to have here. We need to have this badge, which we already spent some time on, and now we kind of have some better colors here. A lot of times with badges, once I feel like I'm happy with the type, I like to kind of angle them a little bit, and you'll notice we already have an angle here with our headline. So let's just keep with that angled trend, kind of makes it look like it's a sticker that's placed on there and it wasn't placed on even, like a real sticker that was placed. We'll make that a little bit bigger. We don't want to have too much white space here. We want to be able to tuck a little element in there. We can right click this and we can change the colors here to make it match with what we have so far. So we could try, a mint color here and make all of this like a chocolate color. Maybe a white color. That's an opportunity. We can make this the chocolate color and bring that 100% out, and maybe the bars as well, the dividing bars, and make that green, the mint green we have. There's a lot of ways to add contrast here. So now that we have the badge and kind of the color, I just kind of highlighted the little divider bars and kept everything white. And now we can kind of focus on this little banner that's going to be across the bottom. We can just draw a quick little banner. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just draw a rectangle. I'm going to go ahead and put the type over to the side. We're going to make like a little waved banner. It's not going to just be a straight boring banner. There's going to be some movement, some curves to this banner. Just drawing what I think would be a good size for it. I'm going to go up to Effect. I'm going to go down to Warp, and I'm going to click on the flag right here. And it's going to add a little bit of curve for us. We don't have to do it manually. Of course, we can always grab the pen tool or the curvature tool and manually add curves. But this just does like a nice even distribution. So just doing a little curve to our banner so it's not straight across and boring. And now we want to apply the same effect to our type. Let's go ahead and get our type figured out. I loved that nice serif font. What was that, a Brill Fat Face? I think that looked really good, and I think since it's a serif font, it'll pair well with all this. That's a serif font. It'll pair very well with all the sans serif font. It's nice if you use a lot of one type of font. Let's say you're using a lot of the sans serif. It's nice to throw in a serif font for a little bit of variety. So we're going to do that. Of course, we can make this white so we can kind of see it a little better. And we're going to apply the same flag effect. So I'm just going to go up to Effect, and we're going to apply the same one. And this is when you have to kind of mess with it a little bit. It's not always going to do it perfectly, and that's okay. Another thing I want to do is add a little bit of ornaments to the side, kind of make it more of a flag on the edges. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add an anchor point. Just have the pen tool, I'm adding an anchor point. Then I'm going to take the curvature tool, and I'm just going to select this one anchor and bring it in. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to add a new anchor point right there in the middle. And get that curvature tool and just bring it in. Or you can use the direct selection tool. So now I added a little bit of a wave effect and kind of some edges. So I thought that looked a little nicer. Might just need to rotate this just a little bit. So now in terms of color, and also I could round this. So what I'm going to do is this has the warp effect to it. So it's going to always have this warp effect. So what I want to do is outline this object so it doesn't have this effect anymore. So I can edit all of the anchor points. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Object, and I'm going to go down to Expand Appearance. And so anytime you do kind of anything from the effect like warp and distort, transform, sometimes you have to go to Object, Expand Appearance, and you'll notice, there we go. So now if I do the direct selection tool, I have access to all of the anchor points here. And the reason I did that is I wanted to soften the edges of this flag. So I'm just going to soften the edge of the flag. I think it kind of gives it more of a polished look. So let's zoom out and talk about color, because right now we have a lot of brown and we need to have better contrast here. So here's what I'm going to do. This is a great layout, but it's missing something. It has the whole background is the same. It's just a big white background, and we need to change that. We need to break this up somehow. So I have an idea. Let me go ahead and just do some last tweaks here. Okay, so now I want to be able to divide this to add kind of a lighter top and a darker bottom to break it up quite a bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the rectangle tool and I'm going to split it where I think would be a great halfway dividing point, and it doesn't have to be exactly halfway. And I'm going to make this brown, or I can make it green. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to add a little bit of curve to this, because right now this looks great in dividing it up, and I can even make this diagonal across, something like that, to kind of play along the diagonal look. And I think that looks fine. But I think for this, I'd like to kind of go along these curves here. And I'm going to take the curvature tool, and I'm going to it's going to be clicking right here, just clicking down, and then I'm going to click over here and click up. I'm just creating a little bit of a wave. Just a little bit of a wave action here. And this badge can kind of sit nicely on top of that, maybe kind of halfway there. This also gives us an opportunity to play around with color a little bit. Let's kind of reverse this out and maybe make this the mint color. And we can also take an opportunity to take this banner and make it a different color, because if I make it brown, I can't make it brown. If I make it green, there's just way too much green happening there. So it's all about high contrast with package design. So let's try a totally different color that's different than our color palette to really bring this banner out. So we're actually going to try a yellow-orange. Maybe add a little bit of a darker orange color to it. It's bringing it down and help it pop out. And of course, I think black might work a little bit better for that. Of course, this down here needs to be switched to white, all this little information. So I think that works to kind of help break up the package design a little bit more. And I still think something's missing. I still think we need to continue to work with this a little bit more to get something I'd be happy with. So let me take a few moments to kind of process this. Let me make that brown just so that looks more together. I think we need to have a little bit more cohesiveness. We have a lot of extra space happening here. So let me take a few minutes. I will be right back.